Aishwarya, start. Aishwarya, start. Aishwarya, start.
Every day is a new beginning. Take a deep breath, smile, and start again. A pleasant good evening to one and all present here. I hope everyone's safe and healthy. Here, Aishwarya R. from 3rd year EC Department, on behalf of JPR Institute of Technology, IETE Student Forum, I welcome you all to the NIRMANA'21 Day 6. On behalf of our Managing Director Sir Dr. N. Maria Wilson and our respected Principal Ma'am Dr. L. Merlin Winston and our Honorable Chief Guest Ms. Yukti Kapoor Mehandiratta is a founder of CEO, SBY Academy, Leadership, Etiquette Coach, TEDx and Keynote speaker, and coordinator of JPR Institute of Technology, IETE Student Forum, Mrs. Nancy Williams, Assistant Professor of EC Department. At last, I welcome all the participants and volunteers to this NIRMANA 21. Now, I like to welcome Ms. Akshaya from 3rd year EC Department to deliver about the event. Please, Ms. Akshaya.
Thank you, Ms. Aishwarya. It is an immense pleasure to tell about the event NIRMANA'21. It is a flagship event conducted by IETE Student Forum of JPR Institute of Technology in association with IETE Chennai Center. It will be conducted for 7 days as we will be celebrating the International Engineers Day from 9th September to 15th September 2021. The main motto of this event is to enhance their professional skills to help them become a successful engineer. So, today is the day 6 of NIRMANA'21. In this day, we honor to welcome our chief guest, Ms. Yukti Kapoor Mehandiratta, founder of SBY Academy, Leadership and Etiquette Coach, TEDx and Keynote speaker. This event is conducted to pave the way to know more about the management skills. It is the collection of abilities that includes things such as business planning, decision making, problem solving, communication, delegation, and time management. In management, these skills are essential to run an organization well and achieve desired business objectives. And finally, I honor to welcome our chief guests, staffs, coordinators, and all the participants to the wonderful event. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Akshaya. Now, I like to welcome Ms. Puri from 3rd year EC Department to deliver the chief guest profile. Please, Ms. Puri.
Yukti Kapoor Mehandiratta is the founder and CEO of SBY Academy, a certified leadership and etiquette coach, a mentor, an advisor, and an acknowledged keynote speaker on various corporate, social, and entrepreneurial platforms, including Unplugged by TEDx Gateway. As a former GLADRAX, Mrs. India runner-up, and an ex-banker with Citi and Barclays, she has closely witnessed the gap between people's capability to perform and ability to lead, and made it her mission to transform leaders, making every organization she coaches a great place to work. Yukti has been felicitated with Mumbai Women Leadership 2021 by World Women Leadership Congress. She is also recognized as among the top 10 women startup CEOs 2020 by a prestigious business publication called CEO Insight and has been awarded with National Women Excellence Award 2018 extended by Indo-European Chamber of Small and Medium Enterprises.
Thank you, Ms. Puri. Now, on behalf of JPR Institute of Technology, IETE Student Forum, we would like to felicitate our chief guest with virtual memento. Please, ma'am. Hand over this session to our chief guest, Ms. Yukti Kapoor Mehandiratta. Please, ma'am.
Thank you, Aishwarya. Thank you so much for the entire management team to create and curate an event such as this and give me the honor to be a part of this event. Many, many thanks. And happy Engineers Day to all of you. It's a hard path that you've chosen. You know, there are many easier ways to get through the youth. Deciding to become an engineer is not one of them. I went halfway through and took a U turn in my life, and I can tell you that even that halfway was not so easy when I was just kind of writing some entrance exams to see if engineering is the next thing for me. Sometimes it's a blessing in disguise that things don't go your way, and it didn't, and whatever turned out to happen in life was not all that bad. So I think I'm in a good place simply because we've done a few things right in life to start feeling right about what happens to us. One such thing is our ability to connect with people. So that's what I'm going to talk to you all about. And I would love this to be an interactive session. I'm still wondering how. If you can write something in the comments and I can read, that'll be fantastic. And if you have any questions, maybe the coordinators can come in and bridge that gap between you and me and put out those questions to me during or later in the session. All right, so let's get started with that one skill which has helped me humongously in my career. And I feel that this is one skill that is agnostic of the sector or the subject that you choose for yourself, whether you are an engineer or you are a marketer or anybody that you choose to be in your life. One thing that you must learn is how to connect with other people. Let's realize and remember that we don't live in a jungle, which means just me knowing how good I am is no good. What's important is for us to be relatively good. And that relative goodness or that factor of success comes into play when people around us also see the goodness that we carry. They see what is good about us, which is a function of how well you connect with people. So if you think that you are an introvert and so you will never be a good networker, that's a myth. If you think that you're an engineer, so you never need to be a good networker, absolutely wrong. Another myth. What we need to understand is for as long as we are going to interact with other people, we need to know how to network. So would you like to know how to network, guys? If yes, then I want you to sit back with your notepad and pen handy. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Ragul and Sasi. I would love to see more comments coming in here so that it's an interactive session. I can talk about networking the entire day long, right? But we have all of 45 minutes today. So I've tried to pack in as much as I thought will be useful for you guys. There is a lot that you may want to make a note of. So good time to grab a notebook and pen and let's go deep into what is networking skills all about and how can you be a great networker. So I'm going to share my screen with you all and start with a very elementary question. And the question is, why network? Why should I network? What's in it for me? Well, let's look at stats since we're all math lovers here and most of the room is filled with engineers. Let's put some stats on the screen. 80% of professionals consider networking to be a vital aspect of their career's success. And I am one of those 80%. In my decade-long banking experience, I was promoted every second year. And as much as I owe it to sincerity, hard work, and focus on being a lifelong learner, what also helped me to go up the corporate pyramid was my ability to connect with people. So I'm going to tell you in some time who to connect with and how to connect. But let's first address the why. The second fact that's important for you to understand is 85% of jobs that are filled in any corporate across any sector is done via networking. You think that there is a long process that is followed to hire people. It doesn't happen that way. So people in the management sit together, like me, for example, a business owner would want to sit with my core team and have a discussion on the vacant spots. And we'll say, hey, do you know someone who can fill that in and is good? And we line up 5 people from our own inner circle or our own social circle. And from there, more often than not, we get a good resource. So unfortunately, it doesn't even go through that entire long process for you to connect with someone you've never met. Hence, it's important for us to meet and connect with as many people as possible so that you are in some or the other inner circle or social circle. And that's how opportunities can be grabbed. The third important fact to look at is 70% of individuals are hired at organizations where they already had a notable connection. They already knew somebody in that organization. 70% of hiring happens through that. Whether we like it or not, this is the reality. The last stat you need to look at is, again, hiring managers. 70% of hiring managers usually use social media platforms to screen potential candidates, emphasizing the importance of social savviness. Now, by social savviness, I don't mean Tinder and Hot or Not or whatever other apps you guys use and other platforms where we date and we mix around with people and find our soulmates. Those are different digital footprints that you leave behind. And let me tell you, all that is also looked at. There is no data about you that is out of reach for people who want to learn more. Remember that, right? So anytime you make a social appearance, which includes a virtual appearance today, you've got to be mindful of the fact that you are leaving a digital footprint. Whether it is a picture or it is a meme or a reel or whatever you may want to call it, and whichever platform you may choose to put that on, the moment you put your camera on, you are creating a digital footprint. And that will get added to your image. That will add or take away from your reputation. You've got to remember that, because we are all young kids here in the room and we sometimes get carried away with wanting to become an influencer and the next YouTuber and whatever else that we see people of our age do. Now, the challenge there is, until you have a clear proposition, you have some clarity on how you're going to add value as a YouTuber, just putting out random videos and pictures is not the way to get started. In fact, it is an absolute no. We've got to create room for plans which can take over our own plans. Unfortunately, a lot of people at your age don't even have a plan, which is not such a great idea. But given that you do and you belong to that minority, that small percentage where you have a plan, even then we've got to make space for plans which could be better, which will take over our plan. Our plan A might not work and we might need to make room for plan B. So let's not leave digital footprints in such a negative manner that they don't work for any other plan. I hope you're following this. It's a very, very important point. And I'm so glad that I'm able to address you all on this important aspect of social presence today. Because as much as I see all these platforms and I see how people are showing up, I want to get into the screen somehow to shake them up and tell them this is so not done. It's going to harm you. It's going to create a real damage. And when it does, it might be too late to reverse any action. So let's be preventive about it. Let's be proactive about it. With that said, let's look at how to create a network web. Now, we know that networking is important. Every job gets filled through networking. People are progressing from one level to the other, whether in business or in corporate careers, through networking. 80%, 85% of your success is a function of your people skills, your ability to connect with people. It's only 15% of your technical skills that adds to your growth and success. And this is research done by Harvard, supported by Stanford University. So let us not get carried away with our CGPAs. Let's not get carried away with whatever scores you're able to manage within your college. Even if you were the topper of the class, you have a long way to go to master that balance 85% that's going to add to your success. What you have probably taken care of is some 10% of that 15% technical skills, despite being a topper. Listen to this carefully. Why not entire 15%? Because the technical skills will become more specific to the organization that you will join. And you need to learn or relearn and unlearn a few things, even technically, depending upon what you choose your career to be. So even if you nail it, you're only 15% up on your game. There is still a long way to go. And that's where people who are not so sharp and equipped technically are more successful in their careers if they have been able to hone their people skills. There is no replacing the fact that you need to be a subject matter expert. You've got to know your stuff. You've got to know the technical understanding. You've got to have that knowledge, right? And that's how you do justice to the role you play. But that's only a beginning that you make. What happens thereafter is the way people connect with you and you connect with them. And that's where networking comes into action. Networking will help you find the right mentors and advisors. It will help you to understand the opportunities that exist outside. It will help you to widen your canvas. But you might think that you know everything. And when you start talking to people, you realize that, oh my God, there is so much more to learn. And that's what networking does. When you talk to people, you learn from them. You learn about things that you were not aware of sitting at home or talking to 5 of your friends or dating people for months. You would not learn things that you would learn in just one networking event. So the first thing that you've got to do before we go deeper into this discussion is to shrug off all the excuses that your mind creates about networking. Oh, networking is not for me. I'm a very shy person. I don't know what to talk when I see people. I'm not so comfortable with English, and so I cannot be a networker. Or that, I'm actually a geek. I love reading and I love learning, and I think in my job, this is all that's needed. So I don't even have to learn this. If any of these thoughts have crossed your mind and are still stuck in your mind, then you've got to shrug it off like that. Shrug off your head and your entire body till those thoughts drop physically off your body and your system, because it is going to take you away from your success. And I can guarantee you that. You've got to get out of this mindset that networking is not for me. With that said, let me help you become one of the best networkers around. But it only starts with your preparation and your mindset to receive these tips that I want to share. Otherwise, it's just theory. You can take a picture of what I'm going to show you on the screen and you might think you've learned something new, but it's going to be absolutely nothing until you are prepared to apply these tips and these ways and strategies to be a great networker in your life from this moment on, right away. From here, our work begins to be a great networker. Yeah, so let's just see how many of you are ready. If you are ready to apply these tricks, then I'm going to show you a lot of research that my team has done to put this one talk together. So let me see ready in the chat box or in the comment section. Let me see how many of you are really ready to get rid of all these excuses and, procrastinating this whole effort of connecting with people. It's not so much work. It's not so difficult. Trust me. What I promise is that I'm going to make it very easy for you. What you will promise is that you will implement these things in your life. Then we have a fair deal. All right. So hoping that you're ready, let us understand how to create a network hub. What kind of people do we need to network with? So we need to create a web, which means it is not just one kind of networking. Networking is not just about finding a job. Networking is about making yourself visible. And visibility needs to be taken care of in every aspect and from every aspect of life. So it's like a 360-degree view, right? Which means if you have worked before, then your former co-workers you've got to network with. If you are working right now, even as an intern or in any company working on some project, you've got to network with people that you're working with. or your fellow business associates who are maybe in other engineering college right now, not in your college, but in some other college. How well connected are you? How often do you go out for these college events and then stay connected with people you meet over there? How clear are you about what you want to do in your life? And how much research have you started doing on what are the probable prospects that you're going to meet, the probable business associates you will have? Connecting with them, networking with them is a part of your network web. You've got to find mentors and advisors for yourself. Trust me, no matter how smart you think you are, if you have a mentor by your side, your smartness quotient is multiplied by 2 minimum. If you get the right mentors at the right time, it could create 10x value for you. So never ever shy away from inviting mentors and advisors in your life, but be very careful and mindful of who these people are. The more you bring in clarity about what you want to do, the higher are the chances for you to get the right mentors. Otherwise, you will only invite more and more confusion. Because remember, no mentor knows it all. A mentor is someone who's been there, done that, right? But you've got to know that that's where you want to go as well. So, which means that if I want to play cricket, then my dream is to be mentored by Sachin Tendulkar. He's been there, done that. If I want to be a singer, I want to be mentored by an existing superstar singer who's been there, done that. But if I don't know who I want to be, then how do I find a mentor for myself? Then what comes your way is unsolicited advice. Anybody who's become a somebody will come and pour their wisdom on you. Beta, you should do this. Oh, I think you should do that. If you don't do this, nothing will happen for you. Since you've done this, you should do that. And it goes on and on and on. And you get so confused and muffled in your head, you just don't know where to start. And in that process, you waste a lot of time. You've got to remember another important fact that today, your generation is far more ambitious than the ones before, which means you're early starters, which means that the pressure to succeed is manifold compared to any generation has faced ever before, including what I went through when I stepped out of college. I mean, we had some time called honeymoon period. I've just finished my graduation. I've just finished my MBA. I have time to figure out. But in today's time, the only thing that's absolutely in shortage is time. Time to prove yourself. Time to bring in that clarity. And at this point, I want to tell you and request you to not get carried away with this pressure. Most of this pressure is created here in your head because we use wrong benchmarks. My competition is not a YouTuber who's my age already earning money that I cannot even dream of, unless I want to become one as well. It's an apple to orange comparison. If I'm comparing myself to somebody who I don't want to be, that's not what I see for myself. And at the same time, I should have the courage to place other people who have already started this journey and are doing better than me in this direction where I want to go. And then I know I can get inspired by them if I follow them. Please listen to this very carefully, my friends. Getting inspired and getting influenced are two very different things. It's not the same to get influenced and to get inspired. When you get influenced by someone, you want to become like them. You take their advice as the final word. You think they know better than you. You lose charge of your own life. And you try to find yourself in that person because that person's success or charisma or personality takes you over. What has happened to you in this process is that you've just got carried away. And that is a dangerous place to be in because I can never be you and you can never be me. Right? So getting influenced by people is not what we want. We should, however, be open to getting inspired by people. When you see somebody and you appreciate a quality that person has, wanting to have that quality in you and learning how to get there is a great, great attitude to have. right? I love the way Yukti talks, and I think I should be able to speak like that. And now I'm working on my ability to communicate. Then maybe in this process, I've been able to inspire you. But if you try to be like me, it is an absolute lost battle, because you will never be, because I cannot be anybody else other than me. And the same holds true for you. So please keep a check on yourself, whether you are getting inspired or are you getting influenced by people. Don't sign up for this popularity contest that the entire generation seems to be stuck with. Whether it is the millennials or Gen Zs or whatever you may want to call yourself, this popularity contest does not end with a trophy in anybody's hand. It only creates a sense of lack and not being good enough. What is important instead is to use the same energy to look at what your goal is, bring more and more clarity on your goal, and then let's start working towards it. You will get there when you get there. What's important is to enjoy the entire journey. And what will make this journey fun is your ability to connect with people. Because when you take people along, you will see people supporting you, right? If you want to be exclusive in life, learn to be inclusive. This is one of my favorite quotes, and I love to go back to it and live by it as much as I can. If you want to be exclusive in your life, learn to be inclusive first. Learn to take people along with you, and then you will see how happy and supported they will be in your journey for you and your growth. So this is the web we are creating, guys. We are including mentors and advisors. We are going to include our former classmates if possible. You never know who lands up where in life. Stay in touch with your classmates and, of course, friends and family. That's the network web that you need to create. And now starts some prep work. Now, this is the preparation work that needs to begin right away. So, are you ready with your notepad to make points on what is it that you need to work on starting now, this moment? Okay. So, given that you're all set, let me open up the mind map in 3 different sections. The first is for beginners, which means people like you all who are completing a course. You don't have any work experience. Most of you don't have any work experience, I'm assuming. It's the first time that you will step out of a structured environment, right? Education gives you a very structured and safe environment because you don't have to think anything. If you've enrolled for a course and you've got selected, you will get into the first year. Automatically, you move to the second, third, fourth year, depending upon how many years you have to give into this course. There is nothing to think when you are in this process. It's only after the system is taken away from you that you need to create your own structure. And that's where this preparation comes real handy. So, what do we need to do as beginners to prepare ourselves to be great networkers? Some additional points on how to network when we meet people physically and when we meet people virtually. These are the 3 things I want to discuss with you very, very quickly in the next 15 minutes. All right. So, as beginners, if you've stepped out of our safe college environment, which we will very soon, you've got to see before you get to that point if there is an opportunity for you to be part of your college alumni. Now, obviously, by default, everyone who passes out of this college will be part of the alumni. What I mean is becoming a part of the committee, trying to see if you can pick up a role in either the placement committee or the college alumni committee or some cultural committee where you will interact with more people than just your classmates. This needs to happen even before you step out of the college. For example, some people here have organized this event, right? And they are the ones who are interacting with me. They are the ones who are most visible right now. Are you with me? These are the people like Rahul, for example, right? Has been coordinating with me. You all know him. I know him. He's already networked with more people than many others who are listening to me right now, who only know and are known by their classmates. So you've got to find an opportunity to be a part of some of the other committee and add value to the college. And in that process, trust me, you will add a lot of value to yourself. Okay, so that's the first thing you've got to do. The second thing you need to do is put yourself in a job search mindset, in that mode right away. Even if you don't want to work, even if you think you have a startup idea and the next thing you're going to do is find a co-founder, stop for a moment and get ready to go deeper into your understanding of the environment outside, which you have only seen from the window so far, right? In this protected room under this safe roof, you are sitting inside the classroom and looking outside the window to the world. And when you look at the world, it doesn't look so complicated. But once you're out there, a lot of things will get challenged. So it's important that while you're still in the room, you prepare yourself as well as you can. So what is the second point I want to bring to your attention is to put yourself in a job search mode, which means what? Assume that you're looking out for a job. Get on to LinkedIn. Assume that this is like a do or die situation. If I don't get a job in the next 2 months, 3 months, whatever time you have to complete this course, that's the time you have to get a job. Think of that as your objective right now and go all out to see what opportunities can you get. How will you do that? You will create your own profile on LinkedIn. If you're not on LinkedIn, you're pretty much a ghost to the corporate world or the startup world, by the way. Investors, VCs, everybody will look out for your LinkedIn profile before anything else. So you've got to create a LinkedIn profile, which needs to have a very good professional picture and some interesting facts about you. LinkedIn profile is not only for those who are senior people who have something to say because their designation is fancy. LinkedIn profile is created for anybody who's serious about their profession and they know that to be successful, they need to connect with other people in that profession and outside. So if you don't have one, you've got to create it today. You need to have a LinkedIn profile. That's number one. Number two, look out for job fairs, virtual fairs, or conferences. That's the third point. What conferences are happening virtually? What webinars are happening? Make time to attend relevant webinars, not because they're free, but because they're relevant, right? See what is relevant for you. And how will you know what is relevant? You will know if you have some clarity about your goal, right? If you know that this is the area that excites me, this is what I want to do, this is where I will develop my career. Related to that, what are the conferences happening? Some job fairs happening. Even if you don't want to do a job, right? You're only going window shopping, which means you're not signing on the dotted line. You're not even taking someone's seat. You're not even reaching that interview phase. It's even before that. It's before that step where you are only trying to figure out where are the opportunities. Do I know how to find opportunities? Am I in the right room? And then I'll start talking to people about what I want, whether I want a co-founder or I want a job. But right now, what are we doing? We are scanning the environment. So we've got to do these three things. We've got to have a LinkedIn profile. We have to go to job fairs relevant to the subject, the sector that interests you, and related conferences. Now, with that done, the third thing you have to do is to expand your social circle also. Not necessarily your professional circle, but your social circle, which means reach out to more and more people. Maybe there is a sport that you enjoy. Connect with people on that sport. Join the sporting group, whatever that sports group is, whether it is soccer or cricket or whatever you like to do. Sign up for meetups. These are virtual meetings where people connect with each other and share their interests. Guys, there are two types of people listening to me right now. One are those who think, oh, this is my age to have fun. And all I want to do is Instagram and Tinder. Right? I have 5 years to figure out because my dad is rich or because my family is so understanding, they don't push me. That's one category, right? The other category is who feel that they should have done what I'm talking about as of yesterday. And so Tinder is fine and it has its own 15, 20 minutes of time in a week, in a day, whatever you want to give it. But most of my time will go towards developing my future the way I see it. And while I do that, I will still bake in the flexibility for my future to unfold some pleasant surprises. But those pleasant surprises are unfolded for only those who prepare, who are proactive. You cannot be reactive if you want some pleasant surprises to unfold for you. You've got to be prepared. Otherwise, no opportunity will knock at your door and you won't hear it. You won't even get the sound. To hear that, you have to have a prepared mindset. This is what will help you to prepare. Look out for book clubs if you write, if you enjoy reading. If you write, look out for writers clubs or go on to meetups. You've got to do this research today, guys. Go online and look up for meetups and sign up for it. And when you do, don't take that up as a dating app. Take that up with all seriousness, paying respect to the other person with the only intent to connect at a human level. That's it. I am just interested to know about you. That's the only intent I will have when I will show up for any social circle expansion. And the last thing is to remember that you've got to know your stuff. Knowledge is power. If you don't know about your subject, there is no meaningful conversation you can have with anyone. No matter how smart you are or look, no matter how suave you are, it comes down to nothing if when you speak, you have no content. And content comes from knowledge, right? So you've got to stay up to date with the latest happening in the industry that you like. You've got to know who are the movers and shakers of that industry. Who are some of the people who've been successful in that industry? Where are they? What are their names? Am I connected to them on LinkedIn? Do I have their email ID? You will be very surprised to know, and I can tell you this as being someone who's on the other side of the table as a coach, that when an aspiring coachee writes to you with a request to be coached, it gives you immense pleasure to make time out and support such people. We do free webinars and paid crash courses every month at SBY Academy, right? And it's a different leadership topic every month. And every single month, I handpick students who show that hunger to learn, but don't have the money to invest in the programs right now. And we allow them to come in for free. We do this pro bono activity every single month for those who have the courage to send out such a request to us. By the way, many people would not even have the courage to say that. They will just pass it off saying, this is not needed right now. And then there are people who are very clear about what are their weaknesses, what all do they need to work on, and how will they get there. And when they see that, okay, here is a platform and opportunity, they put their hand up and ask for help. And that requires a lot of courage. As much as we think that money is the answer to everything, it's so wrong. The answer to everything is your courage. Do you have the courage to ask for help? Because when you do, you will see a lot of people, surprisingly, will be ready to help you. But you've got to put your hand up first. So know these movers and shakers and have the courage to reach out to them. Tell them that you want to learn from them. Tell them that you want to be in their proximity. Follow them. Respond on their posts. Join the courses if they have something to offer and you can afford it. Be there. Be as close to them as possible so they remember you, they know you by your first name. It is a real make or break, and I'm putting it out in the open, opening up this top secret behind a lot of people who've been successful at a younger age. It's because you create that proximity with people who are already where you want to be. Remember, you are the average of 5 people you spend most of your time with. Now you choose who these 5 people should be. If I were you, I would add some movers and shakers to those 5. Movers and shakers of the industry that I want to be a part of. And lastly, if you don't know who to follow, you don't know what to do, go on Twitter and see what are the related posts, who's posting most, who gets maximum likes, who's being followed by people, who has maximum followers. Or go to Huffington Post and see who's writing a featured article in the subject or in this area that interests me. Can I follow this writer or author? Have they written some book that I can read? Is there some email ID where I can pay compliments for all that I have learned from them in their work? That's the work you've got to be doing right now. If you have any spare moment from your course, This is what I would encourage you to do. So that is how we network as beginners. Now, very quickly, if you are meeting people, make sure that you get your introduction right. Please don't limit your introduction to your ability to talk well. Introduction requires preparation and practice. So there are 3 questions I want you to answer, and I want you to write these 3 questions down and write down the answer to these 3 questions as well after this session. After you're done with that, see if you can say all of that in 30 seconds or less, and that's called the elevator pitch. You've got to create an elevator pitch for yourself. It is not just for a startup idea. It is also a way to introduce yourself in a manner that people remember you. Remember that they meet a lot of people. You meet a lot of people, right? How many people do you remember? Only a handful of those who are able to leave an impression on you. And that impression is not always limited to a pretty face or a branded outfit. More often than not, it is about somebody's personality and the content that they spoke when they met you, isn't it? So we've got to develop that content. We've got to write this down and practice. And trust me, even the best of orators and speakers practice their introductions, because you don't get a second chance to put your first impression out there. So you've got to answer these 3 questions very authentically. Who you are, which means without getting, taking it to a spiritual angle right now in terms of the person that I am. Right now, you can restrict it to, okay, I am a student of Jaipur College, and this is the specialization within engineering that I'm doing. I'm in my second year, third year, wherever you are. What do you do? I do these 3 things really well. What are your top 3 talents? Right? Or in this is where you can also share what you're really good at. When I'm away from my books, I will be seen playing my guitar. When I'm away from preparing for my exams, I'm usually found wandering around in the forest or in the nature. Who are you and what you do is a combination of both your qualification and your personal life. Never shy away when it comes to introduction from sharing some bit of who you are personally, who you are as a person, because that's where a real human connection is built, right? So you don't have to put yourself out there as a professional machine and talk like a robot. Talk about yourself, talk about what you're really good at, talk about what you really enjoy doing. And the last is what you're looking for. I'm looking for, learning from mentors like you. I'm looking for being mentored by you. And I've been following your work and I think it's amazing. And I'm so inspired by what you do. So I'm looking for being a mentee to you, or I am looking for understanding this industry better. And I'm wondering if there are some resources you could share with me that can help me to learn things better and faster. Whatever you're looking for, or I'm looking for an opportunity to be an intern in this organization or in your organization. So whatever you're looking for is something that you can leave your pitch with. It's absolutely okay to do that. So remember to go with this flow. Who are you, what you do, and what are you looking for? All of this is to be said in less than 30 seconds. And it is possible. It will take multiple iterations and reiterations when you will write till you get it right. And when you think you've got it right, speak it out in front of your friends or people who really care for you and take their feedback. Check with them. Is this making sense? Do you think this can create an impression that people will carry with them? And then take that feedback with an open mind and see if you need to go back to the drawing board and work on this again. But you've got to get this right. This is a very, very important part of networking, guys. How you put yourself out there matters a lot. It starts with your own introduction. The second thing is to do your homework. If you are in any environment, you should be aware of that environment before you step in. Read up on that networking platform. Read up on the kind of people who you're probably going to meet over there. Do whatever research that you can do before you are in front of those people. And the last point, very, very important, which we often forget, whether it is physical or virtual, after you network with people, remember to follow through. Remember to get in touch with them within the next 24 hours, whether it is on mail or WhatsApp or maybe LinkedIn, whatever you have chosen as a way to connect. And make sure that you get that person's consent, that permission to connect with them in that manner. Don't just randomly bombard people with emails just because you got their visiting card. When you are ending the conversation, it's very important and appropriate to ask, would it be okay if I write to you by tomorrow? I just want to send out a note sharing some bit that I have learned on this subject recently, which might interest you as well. Would that be okay? And then let them say yes. Or they might suggest an alternate way to get in touch. And they might say, oh, you know what? I don't check my emails that often. What you're saying sounds very interesting, but I think if you drop me a line on LinkedIn message, I'll see that before I check my mails. And maybe now you know that that is a better way to get in touch with this person. So you not just have to follow through, which means get in touch with them within the next 24 hours of meeting them. You also must take their permission to know what is the best way for them to stay connected with you, what is comfortable for them, right? That's what we do in the physical environment. Virtual networking requires a little more work because you are one of thousands of people that anybody will look at in one single day. Look at your own self. How many people since morning have you seen their faces? Maybe you don't remember their names. Go on Insta, you would have seen some 500, 600 people, even if you're randomly just looking at reels of people you don't know. Then you go on LinkedIn, you spend another 10, 15 minutes and you would have read posts from people you've never heard about before. And you will randomly see a lot of other people on your screen. If you go on WhatsApp, you see another bunch of people there. So you are actually looking at maybe 1,000+ faces every single day. How do you stand out in such a cluttered space is a function of creating a personal brand. Now, this is a very big topic, and we can have a separate talk on how to create a personal brand. But for now, let's start working on one tip that I've shared with you today. Get your LinkedIn profile in place. Get a good picture. Trust me, there are lots of times I reject an invite on my LinkedIn if there is no picture or if there is a bad picture. A bad picture is a very casual picture or a very wannabe picture. You don't want to put a picture there when you look hungover, right? That you're all like tipsy and life is beautiful. And you don't want to put that picture because I don't know how to take you seriously. So put a professional picture and write some description about yourself there. It could be about your interests. If you think you don't have any credentials as of now, which you will not because you've just started your journey, you are still a person who's 20, 22 years old, right? Which means you have interests of all these years behind you. So write about that. Write about what you like about yourself. What do you like about other things around? What are your interests? So those are the things that you've got to add to your personal brand through LinkedIn. That's what I want you to work on for now. And maybe later when we meet somewhere else, we will talk more about personal branding. In the meantime, do your own research on how to build a personal brand. The second thing is to engage with your network. Please don't think that just because you've not handled a leadership role, you can't talk about anything. Or just because you don't have any work experience, you have no content. You have a lot of content. Our life, one life, is more than 100 books that one can read and rattle, isn't it? So there is so much that one can pick from one's own life. Even if you're just 17 years old, you're 15 years old, you have 15 years of stories that you have lived through. Engaging with people, engaging with your network is also about connecting with their stories. What are they talking about? And when you read what they share, how does it feel for you? What are you learning for them? Remember to engage only in positive ways. If you genuinely cannot find anything good to appreciate in a post or in something that you see about someone, move on. You don't have to make it a point that you put your nasty comment over there, because remember what I said at the beginning of our talk. Your footprints, digital footprints, are there forever. Even if you think you've deleted a profile, we can still retrieve data on that platform for you. So be very mindful of what you're writing. be genuine, and be positive. These are the two things you've got to remember when you are engaging with your network. And the third is to join more and more networking groups. The more you interact with people, the more you will learn and the faster you will grow. Simple as that. So here is when you can take a quick picture of the screen if possible. I have listed down 10 apps which are very, very popular as networking platforms, especially for beginners. Connectivity, Sharper, Opportunity, Alignable, Referral Key, Bizarro, Mixer, 1 million cups, Bumble Biz, not Bumble, but Bumble Biz. This is different. And Full Contact. Now, these are just 10 I've listed, which are very popular. There are many, many other apps out there. Find one platform that resonates with you and be there and connect with people, add value to them, and appreciate them for the value they are adding. All right. So a quick sum up before I cover the last bit of my talk today. We've talked about why networking is important. How will you create your web? For beginners, what are the 4 things that you've got to do right away while you are still in college? And then once you are actually there networking with people, before you get into the networking environment, what prep work is required? You will do your homework, you will work on your intro, and you will remember to follow through by taking their permission. And in the virtual space, there are lots of apps, networking platforms that exist. Work on your personal brand, find out how you can do that. I've already given you a few tips. And engage with people meaningfully. Always be positive and respectful. If you have something negative to say, zip up and move on. It's not important. It will not serve you well. Forget about that person. It will not serve you well. Okay. The last bit is when you are actually in action in the networking environment, what do you do then? Now, 5 things to do, and you can make a note of it as I open up one at a time. The first thing is to be yourself. Please drop the need to be a somebody. Right now, you are a student, and that is who you are. And it is not less than anybody else or more than anybody else. It is that stage, that phase of your life. Anybody who's a somebody was at this level, some point or the other, isn't it? It was not possible for us to be where we are if we were not never a student. So you are a student today, and that's who you are. We don't have to try and be somebody else. So let us accept who we are, because it is going to reflect in every interaction that you have with people. The more comfortable you are with yourself, the more comfortable you will be to network with other people. So bring in that confidence and that comfort with yourself. The second thing is to learn the art of introduction. I've already given you those 3 questions. Practice, practice, practice. Make sure that you master how you introduce yourself to people. Please don't rattle out, a script. It should not look very scripted, as if you've mucked it up and you've just come and like vomited it in front of people, right? You've got to say it with a lot of ease, which means sometimes if you're off the script that you prepared, it's all right. And sometimes you should be off script, because your introduction is also a function of the kind of people you're meeting. If you're meeting someone who, a gathering where there are all professionals, you will introduce yourself differently. If you're meeting someone in the startup community, you will introduce yourself differently. If you're meeting someone who shares the same sports or other interests that you have, you'll have a different introduction there. So create that flexibility in the way you introduce yourself. The third thing you've got to do is to plan a conversation starter. Conversation starter is what helps you to make conversations with strangers, people you've never met before. And we do a lot of webinars, by the way, on conversation. So do follow us on sbvacademy.com, and all the handles are there on the website. In this whole space of conversation skills, conversation starters is the only thing that can be planted. It can actually be planted. You can prepare how you will start your conversation. And then later, the conversation takes over. Like the flow will take over. Then you have to maneuver through the flow. Okay, so that's a different skill set, which we can probably talk about in one of our webinars later this year sometime, right? How to build conversation skills. But conversation starter is something that you can plan. So for example, if you like colors, You can choose to wear a little louder color if you know you can carry it well, or a shoe that looks a little different, not inappropriate. Remember this, huh? There is a very thin line between being standoffish and standing out. So standoffish is when you become so loud that all people can see is look at me, and then they don't want to look at you. When you want to stand out, it is done very gracefully. It is subtle, it is graceful, and yet you stand out. Those are the starters, conversation starters that I'm talking about at a physical appearance level. So think about it and see what it means to you. The fourth thing to do is to keep your information handy. If you don't have a visiting card right now because you don't have a job, see whether you can create ease in sharing your email address, right? If you can say that, okay, so, can I WhatsApp it to you? Make it easy for people to have your number and your email address if you want them to have it. Just that bit needs to be remembered. So always make sure that you are well equipped to make this easy for people. And the last thing is the most important one. When we are networking, our only job is to listen, listen, and listen. 80% of your conversation should be about listening. 20% should be filled in with your own voice. As Dalai Lama says, when you talk, you only say what you already know. It is when you listen that you can learn. So remember to listen, because the more you listen, the more you will learn about people. And that learning will help you to network really well. So with that, I close the session for today. And I'll be very happy to take any questions that you may have or any comments. So here's a question I'm picking from the comments saying whether networking is helpful for business owners. Absolutely, yes. Absolutely, yes. In fact, it's impossible to be a successful business owner if you are not networking. Remember that there is no product or service that one can think about today where you could claim to hold any monopoly, right? Everybody out there is selling something or the other, and there will always be more people than just you who will be offering the same service or product. How you stand out is a function of how much are you liked by people, and that is where networking helps. Ultimately, we only want to deal with people we like, right? So that's why they say that you sell yourself first and then your product or service. And even if you hold a monopoly, which is unlikely, but even if you do, you still need to have vendors and suppliers, and a great relationship with them can save you a lot of time and money. So that's also a space where networking comes handy. It's not just to get new clients, it's also to ensure good relationships with people who help you to make your business happen. Your vendors, your team members, your suppliers, your auditors, your marketers, like all those people you have networking with. So absolutely critical. It's the key. Thank you for that question.
Ma'am, shall I read for you, ma'am?
Sure, please.
Thanks, ma'am. Ma'am, the question from Ravi Kannan. Please share your experience that you have met to a higher official, like correspondent in your college life. Shall I repeat, ma'am?
Any higher official that I have met as a student?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that okay? Well, so a lot of times we have these dignitaries coming to college, right? And we get the opportunity to interact with them over high tea, and sometimes a chosen few are in the room to have a longer conversation. In my experience, it has always helped me to be comfortable about the fact that I am still a student. And then no dignitary could rattle me or frighten me. Sometimes we get intimidated by people because of their success. They look so big that we start feeling very small. And when you start feeling small, you're not who you are, because your friends see how big you are, your family sees how confident you are, right? That confidence just goes out of the window when you feel intimidated by somebody in the room. So never allow that to happen. And I think somehow that is has helped me to create good impressions on people I've met. So no matter who I've met, which includes a lot of film stars and a lot of business tycoons in my student life, it was always a very meaningful, adult conversation, like, a mature conversation between two adults, and not really a fan moment. I think I barely recollect a fan moment where I'm like in awe and I don't know what to say, and you kind of feel silly about yourself later. And it also takes away the opportunity to learn or ask an important, meaningful question, since you have that proximity with those people in that moment. So it's not at all a bad thing to be a fan. But like I said a while back, if you're a fan who's getting inspired, awesome. But if you're getting influenced as a fan, not a good space to be in. So I think that's what I was always mindful of, to be inspired and have good conversations from where I am in my life at that point in time.
Thank you, ma'am. Next question from Shobna. How to use LinkedIn efficiently?
Okay. So LinkedIn is about two things. Number one, how authentically you put yourself out there, which means your profile, like I said, your picture, your description, putting out some value added articles, something you write yourself, something that you have borrowed from people and you are sharing it out there, giving them credit. Always remember to do that. Always remember to extend credit to any source that you have referred to when you put out a post. That's one aspect of LinkedIn. The other aspect is to also participate in people's conversation. It's not always about you. So the thumb rule that I like to follow is to send out a post thrice a week, and the rest of the 4 days contribute to what people are posting. Right? That's a good ratio to have. Or if you don't want to do it every day of the week, then it's a 3:3. 3 times in a week, I will share some views of mine, and 3 times in a week, I will appreciate people's views and whatever they are writing. Even if you spend 15 minutes on LinkedIn every day, it's a great investment to make from now on. Look out for people you want to connect with, and be clear about why you want to connect with them. It Never sign up for a popularity contest, guys. It's not about how many connections you have. Who cares? After 500 on LinkedIn, you can't even tell how many connections people have. I hope you're aware of that, right? If you have more than 500 connections, it only shows as 500 plus. Now you could have 10,000 or you could have 5,000. It doesn't matter. It will only show as 500 plus. So there is no point in blindly sending out requests, hoping that at least somebody will take it up and will, accept your connection request. No point. You've got to plan. You've got to have a reason why. And when you send out a request, it's always advisable to write 2 lines about why you are putting out that request. I get on an average, say about 28 to maybe 50 requests in a day. And I only accept requests where somebody has sent out a personal note. Like, thank you, ma'am, was nice listening to you in this particular session, learned a lot, want to continue learning. Simple as that. And I want to take that request up, not because it was a compliment there for me, but because I see that this person is seeking knowledge. And my life's mission is to give whatever little knowledge I have. So I want to connect with such people, right? Or whatever 2 lines that are honest, that you authentically want to say about that person. It could also be that, hi Rakesh, I read your article on AI, and I think that was such a fresh perspective. Would love to read more of your work. Hope we can stay connected. Do you think Rakesh will take that request? Absolutely yes. Compared to many others who would just be random connection requests, no note, no nothing, no reason for me to accept. So that's the way to utilize LinkedIn to start with, and then one can go deeper into strategizing it. But I think for now, let's get started with just this basic thumb rule of 3:3, and also consciously working on your profile.
Ma'am, next question. How can networking help with the career advancement?
Oh, let me say that without networking, career advancement is pretty much impossible. Because when you are advancing in your career, it's not just you who's good at what you do. There could be few other people who are just as good, if not better. And then only one or a few will get picked from that pool. Remember, whether it is a corporate pyramid or a business pyramid, it is actually a pyramid. It becomes narrower as you go up, right? So there are a lot of people who enter an organization, and slowly as they go up and higher, this pyramid gets narrower and narrower. And when you are trying to fit into this narrow part of the pyramid, it's not just how awesome you are that matters. What also matters is how well you connect, right? As they say, people care what you know only if they know that you care. So you've got to let people know that you care for them. And that's when you will see how they put their hand up behind you and use their credibility to add to your credibility. It all boils down to human connection, my friends. So never, never underestimate the power of networking, especially for career advancement. And it is not the same as being a pleaser. Let me clarify that. The idea is not to be, this sugar coated fake person who never fights, who never complains. In fact, it's the contrary. It's about being as authentic as you can and yet respectful. You can authentically, honestly disagree, but you don't have to put your disagreement on someone's face. You don't have to throw it on people's face. You can still respectfully agree and have a disagreement. Are you with me? So respect is one factor that never gets compromised, and that's the whole foundation basically of any connection that people will feel with you. If they feel respected by you, is when they want to know you better. Just as how you want people to respect you, everyone else wants the same. So just because we have a disagreement does not mean that I will be disrespectful towards you. So remember to always respect people, whether it is the junior most person of that organization or the senior most person. Your ability to respect does not differ. I hope you found your answer there for the question, but very important question. Thank you for asking.
Thanks, ma'am. This is my question, ma'am.
Wonderful, Bhavna. Thank you for putting it up.
Thanks, ma'am. Ma'am, please share your experience in your initial stage of connecting people, ma'am.
Initial stage of connecting with people?
People, yes, ma'am.
Initial stage of connecting with people happens for all of us when we are born, isn't it? That's when we start connecting with people immediately by default. We start connecting with our environment. We start understanding that I think these guys are my parents. They're always hanging around and we have this weird connection. And from there, the connection is built. And then as we go outside the house, the connection is expanded to the world outside, right? So, I mean, I'm still trying to understand what is the essence of this question. But if it's about how did I consciously connect with people, is that the question?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to understand this question a little better before I take it to some place. So, is it about how did I consciously connect with people after college? Is that where it's coming from?
It's simply please share your experience in initial stage of connecting people, ma'am. I
Okay.
think it may be after college.
Yeah, I'm assuming that because otherwise it's a long life story that you're inviting right now. So let's not get there, and let's talk about how you can connect with people outside the college, because now you don't have just 30, 50, 100 classmates, you have the whole world, and no one is interested in talking to you until you make yourself interesting enough. So, how do you do that? Here is my secret, and I'm very happy to share the secret with you because it has made me a very successful networker very early in my career. And I hope that you were able to use this as well and add success to yours. So, when we are trying to connect with people, one mistake that people make is they try to talk everything about themselves. How interesting am I? How unique am I? How awesome am I? How I've done everything in college and I was organizing this and I was organizing that. And I watched the latest movie and I go on every dating site you have or you know of, etc., etc., etc. And if you can remember talking to somebody like that, you know that after some time, what happens? We stop listening, right? So the thumb rule if you want to be a great networker, is to remember that you should be interested in others instead of trying to be interesting yourself. Be interested in others instead of trying to be interesting yourself. So don't show yourself to be a very interesting person. Instead, show interest in the other person, the topics they like, where do they come from, and then take that conversation forward in that direction. And you will see that what you will win in maybe less than 2 minutes of that first conversation is their trust. And trust building is what it takes to create that rapport and ultimately results in an impression. It's all so beautifully connected, right? So it starts with somebody getting comfortable with you, and that comfort comes when I can talk a little about myself. Because when I only hear you say, I'm not even connected with you anymore because you don't even know me, right? In fact, I may never want to look back at you ever because you've given me more information than I was wanting to have from you or about you. Are you with me? So if you want to build great connections early on in your life, make this as a thumb rule, to be interested in other person and not try and be interesting yourself. I hope that helps.
Ma'am, next question from Sasi. How to build a network with a good day of communication?
How to build the network
With a good way, ma'am.
in a good
Good,
way.
of a
Okay. So,
communication.
Sasi, I've given you a step-by-step process in this mind map. You just need to follow all the points that I have shared with you in my talk. You've got to remember the 5 steps when you want to be a good networker. Number 1, be yourself. Number 2, practice how you will introduce yourself to people. Share it with your friends, get feedback, and improve that. Number 3, see if you can plan some conversation starters. Number 4, make sure that your phone number, email, or whatever you want to share with people is always handy with you. And number 5, practice on being a good listener. Listening is a skill that can be learned and should be learned. In fact, we do exclusive webinars sometimes only on listening because there is so much to say on listening skills. So you've got to know how good a listener you are. The best way to know that is by taking feedback from people you love, because they will tell you the truth, whether you like it or no. And sometimes that truth is kind of too sharp for your ears, but you need to get that feedback. And that's where your work begins on improving your ability to listen.
Ma'am, next question. According to you, explain how to improve the leadership skills, ma'am. We are networking.
Okay, how to improve leadership skills? Is that the question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now leadership skills is a very, very huge space, right? Now, one good thing is that as much as there is a popular belief that leaders are born, I beg to differ. And I have not only seen leaders in the making, I have also been able to contribute into that making as a leadership coach. So I can tell you that people who do not possess leadership skills have been able to learn leadership skills and have been able to be successful leaders in their career. So, can leadership be learned? Absolutely, yes. Now, the question is what to learn, right? There is so much within the leadership space that you need to learn. So the answer to that is a function of where you are in your career. Okay. So initial part of your career, which is the first 3 years, focus on your subject matter expertise. You first become really good with your technical understanding. Your 15% should be covered very well, because that's the level where you've got to work. When you go above, then you get to a leadership role where you have to get work done from people. Right now, in the beginning of your career, you are the one who's doing it, right? So that doing has to be very good. Otherwise, nothing else comes in handy. You can be a great networker, but if you don't know your stuff, people will like you, they will have coffee with you, they'll stay in touch with you, but they will not promote you, they will not push you for the next level. You've got to be good at what you do, what you've signed up for. So when you're developing your leadership skills in the beginning, in the starting first 3 years of your career, focus on being a subject matter expert and build your leadership skill to connect with your peers. Everybody's at the same level. How can you connect with people using empathy? How can you work on your emotional quotient? How can you improve your communication skills? I'm giving you topics here, guys, that you can make a note of. This is what you have to cover in the first 3 years of your life, your career life, if you want to develop your leadership skills. Okay, you've got to first subject matter expertise, non-negotiable. Alag list hai wo. It's like a given, right? You've got to do that. Now, coming to leadership skills, you've got to work on your communication. How clear is your communication? Can you articulate your thoughts? How well do you connect with your peers, people at the same level? Can you create likability with people at the same level? Not being a compulsive pleaser, not being a yes man, but likability. And that comes when you're comfortable with who you are. Remember that. The more authentic you are, the more likable you will be. Trust me. So you've got to work on that. That's the second skill. The third skill is creativity. Build the ability to look at things in a different way. It is done in this manner always. I've learned how to do it in this manner very well. Now I'm bringing in my ability to look at it differently. And now I'm going to use my communication skills to be able to articulate how I'm looking at it. So it's a blend of creativity and communication. So that's the third thing you've got to work on. The fourth thing you've got to work on is your ability to think in a critical manner. How do you balance between logic and emotions? Right? How do you take a call without being too emotional or without being too factual? You're not a machine, you're a human. There will be some human element, there will be some emotional element. How do you keep that balance going? Very important, right? So these are the four things you've got to remember. The first is communication, how well you communicate. The second is how well you connect with your peers, which is collaboration, right? The second C. The third C is creativity, how you can think, look at things in a different manner. And the fourth C is critical thinking. How do you create that balance between the logical and the emotional aspect of any argument? Work on these four, and you've already made a great start towards being a good leader. I hope that answered your question.
Ma'am, next question is how do you manage your time even in a busy schedule of yourself?
Well, I think time is the only resource which is limited in the same manner to the rich and the poor, to the old and the young. What you do with your time is a function of how clear you are about what you want from your time. And when you are clear what you want from your time, then you allocate your time to things that matter. So work life balance is not as much about quantity of time, then it's about quality of time. Which means even if you have to study for like 1 hour or 2 hours in a day, you're so immersed in that subject that that 2 hours of study was real quality study, quality time spent with the books, right? And when you do that, you learn much better, isn't it? In the same way, you can then move on to what is important. What are other things that are important for me in my life, whether it is family, my me time, my travel, my reading books, or whatever else that I enjoy doing. So managing your time starts with managing yourself. You don't need to manage time if you know how to manage yourself. I hope you find your answer there. It's a loaded statement I'm sharing with you because I have to go deeper into this, and maybe we'll pick it up in some other session later. But time management is not about managing time, it's about managing yourself. The more you think about it, the better you will get with it.
Next question, how to create a network in a LinkedIn and how to be an effective leader
How to create a network
in LinkedIn
on LinkedIn. Okay.
and,
And
and how to be an effective leader. Two questions there, ma'am.
okay. All right. So let's break this into two different parts because they're quite different from each other. How do you build network on LinkedIn? I've already shared some tips with you all. It starts with your profile, then it's about putting out something of value, and then it's about contributing to other people and the value that they have put there already. Now, with that said, you've got to bring in consistency on any platform that you choose to be on, right? Any platform, including LinkedIn. So you can't be on LinkedIn once in a while, randomly once a week, and then off, you're gone for months, and then later you come back because you had exams you couldn't manage. You've got to see what is a practical way for you to engage on LinkedIn, and then be consistent with it. If it cannot be 6 days in a week, let it be twice a week. Let it be once a week. But make sure that one day you are there and you spend those 15 minutes, 30 minutes on LinkedIn. That's number one. Be consistent. Number two, commit to what is a realistic commitment for you. Realistically, I can do 10 minutes every day, or realistically, I can do 15 minutes twice a week, or realistically, I can do half an hour once a week. Whatever it is for you. You choose that, you commit to that. That's the second thing. The third thing is to remember that you're not getting onto LinkedIn to show any desperation to prove who you are or make yourself visible. Visibility comes when you add value to people. Automatically, you will get visible. Adding value is not always sharing wisdom. Adding value is also appreciating. Adding value is also bringing multiple source of information and sharing it liberally with people. Hey, you know what, I saw this YouTube video and it just opened up so much for me, and this is what I learned, and I wanted to share it with you all, and put the link there. That's it. It doesn't have to be curated by you always. You with me? So what content do you connect with? And then you put that out and add your 2 lines on why do you like this. Don't flood the wall with some random good morning messages or random quotes on leadership, etc., etc. Nobody cares. Everybody knows what Mahatma Gandhi said, right? And everybody knows what Martin Luther said. So there is no value in picking up a quote and putting it out there. Thought for the day and a quote. What value will you get if you see such a post? What value will you get from that? Like, you're going to just pass it off, isn't it? But if I put a quote and I say how this quote has changed my life and how it has added value to me and where in my life I realized it and it was a turning point, now I'm adding my story to it. Now there is a possibility for a connection. And trust me, when I say this, there will be absolutely no connection with this story if it is not genuine, if it is not real. So never curate a story. A story is something that has happened in your life. It is not a figment of your imagination. It is not something that's false. It's your truth. If you have a story like that, then definitely put it up and then you will see how people connect with it. So that's the first part of your question. The second one was on effective leadership. Leadership is work in progress forever. It's forever. I coach people within the age group of 16 to 65. And we're all working on leadership skills, right? So there are different challenges required at different age. There is a different purpose for working on those challenges. And hence, it is something that you will be working on forever. Your purpose could change, your goals could change. And every time there is a change there, you will see another aspect of you which needs to improve. As they say, it's only a wise man who understands that no matter how much he knows very little. Are you with me? Because when you think that you know a lot, you clearly demonstrate lack of wisdom. Because as you get wiser in your life, you will realize that no matter how much you know very little. There is so much more to know. So much more to know, right? And that's what wisdom is all about. Wisdom and knowledge are two different things. We can keep acquiring knowledge. But wisdom is when you go deeper within yourself. It is not a knowledge restricted to a subject. It is a connection that you establish with yourself and the authenticity with which you establish that connection. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks, ma'am. Ma'am, there are some good comments for your session. It's an excellent section from Tahir. And Amita said, Wonderful session. Vaishnavi said, thank you, ma'am. Sanjay said, wonderful session, really enjoyed. And that's all, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that appreciation, means a lot. Thank you. I hope I've been able to add some value to your life. And I do wish and pray that you use this skill to your life immediately. And may this add to your success from this moment on. Thank you.
For your patience. Thank you, ma'am, for your patience to answer all the questions. And also thank you, ma'am, for spending your golden time with us. Now, I like to thank our director, sir, Dr. N. Maria Wilson, and our respected principal, ma'am, Dr. Ella Merlin Livingston, coordinator of JPR Institute of Technology IETE Student Forum, Mrs. Nancy Williams, assistant professor of EC department. At last, I like to thank the participants and volunteers who have worked for this event. Without you, the event will not be successful one. Thank you all. We will meet in another session. Participants kindly check the chat box for feedback form which is being posted, and I request you all to fill it up for this certification. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, JIT and the entire management team for giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much. God bless you all.